Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is Ficus Friday once again, and today I'll be working on my Ficus Lyrata, or Fiddle Leaf Fig. I last repotted this tree 5 years ago, so it's well overdue for a root prune and repot. And I'll also be doing a bit of leaf pruning up top to make sure each branch gets some light. Here is a look at the tree. So the leaf size is definitely reducing. Before, when I first got it, the leaves were like 3 times the size of my hand, and now they're smaller than my hand. And there's some leaves on it that are quite small, quite a reasonable size. The trunk is definitely thickening up. It's got a nice bark texture on it. There's a lot of there's an aerial root, there's a few roots around here. And there's a look at all the roots growing over the edge of the pot. And you can see how much it's lifted up out of the pot a good distance. Yeah, so it may be hard to get it out of this pot because it has rounded sides, so there may be roots in this part that I'll have to kind of either cut or pry out. Yeah, I don't think it'll be a real easy repot. Yeah, it's a totally unsuitable species for bonsai, but I enjoy this tree. I like the leaves, and it's a bit of a challenge, but I think it can be done. I think an attractive bonsai can be made out of this species. So I'll keep trying. I'm going to start the work on the top of the tree here, and all I want to do is make sure that each of these branches is getting light. You can see this leaf is kind of growing over top of a branch underneath it, so I can take that leaf off like that. That gives this branch more light. There's a leaf here that's kind of growing across a lot of other foliage, so I'm going to take that off, keeping my leaves that are fanning outwards more than the ones that are kind of vertical or growing in towards the center of the tree. So here's one that's, these two fan outwards, this one kind of grows across the tree, so I'll remove that. That gets more light down to these branches. There's one in here. There's a little tiny branch here, and it only has one leaf on it, so I better leave that one on. There's a leaf that's totally growing in the shade down here. I'll take that one off. I don't think it's on a branch. No, that can come off. This one has 2 leaves fanning out. This one only has 1 leaf. This branch only has 1 leaf. I did get some branches die back here. I don't think that one's totally dead, but some of them are. I think they just got shaded out. Yeah, that one died off. But there's some living shoots around it, so I'm not going to prune it totally away. Are there any other leaves I can leaf prune here? I think this one, it's growing over top of the branch below it, and I have some other leaves on that branch, so that one could come off. And I'm thinking, even though this one fans out nicely, it's growing over top of the branch below it. So I'm going to remove that one and give this one a bit more light. That may be all the leaf pruning, unless I thin the canopy out a bit. This leaf is definitely growing over top of these lower branches, so I can take that off. I don't need this much vigor in the apex. So that's coming off. I could even take this one off. It's kind of growing over top of this branch, and just leave the 2 leaves up top. So I think that's about it. A bit of leaf, pruning, thinning it out, getting light to all the branches below. Here is a look at the tree now. So it's doing quite well. That's where I cut the trunk back quite severely and it's starting to heal around that point. There's a a big callus collar building up there. That'll heal over eventually. Yeah, so it's getting some branching. The trunk is getting quite thick on it, and it's getting a nice bark texture. I may want to put it in a larger pot to encourage these surface roots, these buttressed radial roots, to kind of thicken up and create more of a flare at the base of the tree. I was inspired by seeing some full-size Ficus Lyrata, which had the nice finned buttress roots on them. I'm going to try and get the same on my bonsai if I can. Yeah, so it may go into a different pot with the repotting. So I think the next step is to repot the tree to get it out of this pot. Okay, it is time to get the tree out of the pot and see what 5 years of root growth looks like. So this isn't my first Ficus Lyrata that I've tried as a bonsai. I got one, I think in 2018, and I did quite a severe root pruning and trunk chopping and defoliation, and the tree started to come back, but then it was in the winter and it was quite dark in the plant room, and the leaves started falling off. I think the soil was too wet, and yeah, it just perished. So this is try number 2 at creating a bonsai out of a Ficus Lyrata. And I also I tried rooting when I did the cut off the top. I tried rooting the cuttings, and I was successful, and I gave them away, and I can't remember who I gave it away to, but someone probably has a Ficus Lyrata from that original tree. Yeah, it's pretty tight in here. I don't really like putting ficus in these pots with rounded sides because they're very difficult to get out, because ficus tend to fill the pot with roots quite quickly. So it may be very hard to get out of this pot. And you can see these roots are just they fill the pot and they're circling around. I can barely get this, the end of the tweezers in here. It's so tight. Whew. Yeah, I know some people take a saw and just kind of cut around, which I may have to do, but I don't know. If I can get one side out, then you can often kind of wiggle it out. So I'll try loosening up this side. It seems to be coming. Oh, yeah, pretty tight in there. There's roots. There's no roots going out the drainage holes holding it in. So I think it's just so locked in back here. Just so many roots. Okay, well, let's see. I may need to try prying it out with a chopstick. If I can get this in and kind of compress and lift up this end, it should come out. It is coming. Just need some words of encouragement. Come on, you can do it. Oh my goodness. It's so tight in here. It's probably locked in at the sides too. Knew I shouldn't have used this pot. It was a bad idea for a ficus. I knew it when I was planting it that I probably shouldn't use the pot like this. But it's coming. Here it comes. I don't know if it'll all just pop out in one piece. I guess it will. There it goes. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty root bound. However, you know, you can see in here that there's still room for roots to grow. There's soil that's not root bound. It's just there's a mat on the bottom and a lot of circling roots at the top level. So I will take the pot away. It's got a nice layer of moss on it, but I don't know if I can peel it off. It's getting a bit too thick anyway, so the moss will just have to go. Yeah, so I can start raking out the soil. I'm going to bare root this and then root prune it and replant it. So this tree, as I said, it's a bit unusual to grow as a bonsai. It's not your typical small-leafed, fine-branched tree, but it's something different, and I really like the species. So if I put it in a different pot, I think it'll be a larger pot and give those radial roots room to grow. Yeah, there's a lot of roots on the surface here. I may have to get out my root hook. My Sam Smith root hook. Yes, this is definitely a job for the root hook. These roots are very compacted on the edges. Yeah, they go round and round. I may be further ahead just to cut off this outer layer of roots. At least all these ones that are running around in circles. I think I will. I think it's just so packed in there that some areas it's not too bad. So let me get out the root rake or the root hook again. There's a bad one. That's a tough woody one running around. I have to cut that one. I don't know where it begins and where it ends. So this root hook, by running it through the roots in a radial direction, you know, from your trunk outwards, you're only going to pull out crossing roots in that. Your radial roots will not be injured or harmed, but the ones that grow across, they'll kind of get combed out. So I can see the soil is quite dry down here. So I think this mat of roots on the top here was preventing moisture getting down through the root base. Yeah, it's quite dry in some spots. So it was well overdue for repotting. Oh, some thick roots in there. That one kind of curves around on itself. Okay, I think that one that curves around on itself will have to be cut. Like that. Now, drainage screen. This is this mat of roots on the bottom here. There's one drainage screen. There's a root growing through it, so it's kind of locked in there. I'll just have to cut that. There's no way I'll get that screen out any other way. So there's one drainage screen out, and maybe I just had one in there. I think I did. Yeah. Okay, so now I can switch to my root rake and start raking out the soil. So most of the soil is quite nicely moist, but that one side was a little dry. Oh, there is another root, another screen in here. There it is. Yeah, so part of the root pruning will be pruning off the thicker roots that are taking off and growing more vigorously than the other roots. And yeah, trying to promote balance in the root system so they're all growing at a similar rate and thickness. So I'm pruning off some of these lower roots. They're all kind of growing in strange directions. So you can see there's one here that's wrapped around the tree, so I'll cut that off. Wrapped around the pot, I mean. This one can be removed. This one. That helps kind of get me a better look at the bottom of the root base. And one of the reasons I'm repotting it this late in the year is that it's in the greenhouse here and I heat it at nights. So it's not going to see cool temperatures, and it's nice and humid in the greenhouse, so the tree has, you know, lots of time to recover before it goes indoors. And even indoors it's quite humid and there's good light, so yeah, that's the reason I can repot it. If this was out just on the bench and you didn't have a greenhouse and you didn't have a humid plant room, you'd probably want to do this operation early summer when it's warm and humid out, and that would give the tree the best chance of recovery from repotting. But if you have a greenhouse or a polyhouse or a nice plant room with grow lights and lots of humidity, you can pretty well repot a ficus any time of the year then. Okay, I think it's ready to take over to the washing station and give the roots a wash. And then we can come back and do the detailed root pruning. I've got the root base washed up, so here is a look at it. So it's looking quite good on this side, but on this side you can see there's some thick roots that have dropped down. So I've kind of got almost two planes of roots. I've got the ones on this side which are low and the ones on this side that are high. Very interesting. Yeah. So I have to decide where my soil line is going to be, or my root plane. I can't really cut away this because the trunk kind of is thick here and then it goes thinner down here because this root is only on one side. So I kind of prefer to keep the original root plane and maybe remove or reduce the ones on the bottom, encouraging these radial roots to flow outwards. I think that's going to be the plan of attack. So that means some heavy-duty root pruning coming up. All right, I'm going to start by removing these roots that are going way down. So I've got several on this side. So I'm going to snip them off here. There goes two thick ones. There's one on the very bottom that's really thick. That's this one here. It's nice and radial, but it's just too low. So it's coming off also. So that comes off. And then there's a very, very thick one coming out to this side. So I think I'm going to have to cut through this big thick part of the root here. So I'll take this off first, this other thick one. So here I go. So that one comes off. That was a pretty thick one. There's one growing down low here. I'm going to take it off quite high, establishing my flat root plane up top. And then I'll take off these ones, just kind of reducing this bulky section of the trunk or root that comes down. So now I've got to make a cut. And this is a pretty big cut. I may have to, cut it from this side and then come in the other side also. So here I go, kind of a big. So that's through on that side. Now I will come through on the other side, trying to line up my cuts, which is right up here. That didn't work. Getting there. Oh, it's almost. I can probably come in with the scissors and just release that stub. Let's see how thick that was. Yeah, so there's a look at the bottom. Pretty big cut, but it gets my root base flat and radial now, which is quite nice. So probably from this cut point where I cut those thick roots off, I'll get more roots coming out in a radial direction. So I'll clean up and then we'll do our more detailed root pruning on the upper part here. So there's all the roots I took off the bottom. Okay, so I'm looking at the root base now and I've noticed there is one thick root on this side. You can see it hit the edge of the pot and curled around. That needs to be reduced back. It's too long. There's no subdivision. There's no taper. So I'll keep the base of it, but I'll prune off the tip. And I'll come in here with kind of a flat cut parallel to the soil line. So here I go. it's got it released. Maybe it doesn't. There it goes. So that root can come out. That helps. Helps balance the root system. So now I can comb out what's left here. And I may have to rewash the roots once I get a little more soil removed and a little more root pruning done. So next I notice there's a root here that crosses all the radial roots. So I need to find the origin of it. Oh, maybe it's already been cut and removed. I think it has, so I just need to pull that out. And it took part of another root with it, but I'll just trim that one back. This one, I think I've got to pull that out. I think it's, I don't know where that one came from, but that needs to be pulled out. Sometimes you get roots that grow, hit the edge of the pot and then grow back in towards the center of the tree. And so you get this mess of roots that are all tangled. This one here, here's the radial direction of the root. This is almost 90 degrees to it, so I'm taking that off. Like that. There's a very thick root here, and that is my lowest root, so I'm going to take that one back also. Taking that off. So the tree's sitting a little flatter now. I'm just sorting out these roots here. See, there's not much on this side where that big thick root went down, but hopefully in the future it'll grow roots there. Okay, I've got the roots all combed out now. There's one here that's sticking straight up. That can come off. Oh, well, there. It was, I don't know where it comes from. I don't think it comes off the trunk there. It was sticking up from down below. Yeah. I'm just going to quickly rewash the root system and so I can see them a little more clearly. Here is a look at the root system now. So it's pretty good. This one root that I cut off, it starts here and it crosses this one below, and they're fused together. And it's not very radial. It kind of goes off at an angle, so I'm going to correct that. And I think I'll use my big concave pruners. Whittle it back. Something like that. I think that's better. At least this root's nice and radial. There's a root that kind of, it starts off down here and then it takes a dive downhill. I'm going to prune it off shorter. This one can be pruned off shorter. It's a little long. This one also, just to get some ramification and taper to it. This one isn't growing very radial. It comes off this root, but it's kind of 90 degrees, so I'll trim the end off it. And this one, it comes out and then it curls around. And it's kind of going uphill. It's not the greatest root. So I will prune a lot of it off, like that. This one's a little long. I could come back. The rest, I think, that's pretty good. The front of the tree is somewhere around here. I've got a new aerial root coming here that I think I'll position back here. Yeah, so I think the root base is, yeah, that's about the front of the tree here looking in. So I think the root base is looking quite good. I just need to comb out some of these fine roots in here, make sure they're in a radial direction, like that. Yeah, so I haven't left a whole lot of roots on the tree, but should do okay. Yeah, I think that's good. I think the root pruning is done. So next, I've got to plant the tree. I think I'm going to plant the tree in the same pot. You can see it's a good size for the tree. This is a training pot. The glaze is cracked here. There's a crack that runs down the pot. So it's a good training pot. It's a good size, it's a good depth. I think it's suited for the tree. It's a little hard getting them out, but it's not too bad. Yeah, so I'll get some drainage screens in here. Base layer of soil. I'll want to plant it about to there, so I only need about that much soil on the bottom. So I will do that. I've got 2 Chris Marshall drainage screens that I'll put in the bottom of the pot. So Chris Marshall is from CM Bonsai. He's located in Ireland. He's got a fantastic YouTube channel. You should go check it out. He's got some pretty amazing trees and penging. So now I'll get a base layer of soil on the pot. Yeah, when Nathan was down visiting the bonsai zone, we video called Chris Marshall. So I talked to him for the very first time in person. It was quite exciting, a very nice guy. My soil is a little wet. I think the lid mustn't have been on my soil bin properly. And we had tons and tons of rain lately. And it just, yeah. So I have wet soil. So I think that's a good height for my soil. So now I've got to plant my tree. So this is the better side of the pot. The other side has the crack and everything. And as far as the tree, I think somewhere about there is the front. Roots look good. The branches look pretty good from this view. Yeah, I think. So I'm looking at the front now. You're at a bit of an angle. So I'm just going to position the tree. So the tree has a heavy branch on this side. So it's a little right heavy, which would generally mean I move it to the left side of the pot a bit, just to create balance in the composition. Yeah, that looks pretty good right there. So I'll make sure all my roots are arranged. Make sure they're all as radial as I can get them before I add the soil in. And I think the height of the tree is good. Position in the pot is good. I could maybe move it a little more forward to there. And now I can add my soil, my wet soil. It's better if soil is dry. It flows around the roots better, but wet soil is better than no soil at all, I guess. And this soil is quite crumbly, so I'll be able to work it in around the roots quite easily. I think I need another scoop. I usually don't have soil mixed up, but when I repotted my Schefflera, I mixed up lots of soil. So it's nice having a bin of soil, even though it's all wet. So I'm just kind of roughly getting the soil in. Okay, now I need to make sure the soil is worked into the roots. There's a pill bug there. Out you go, there. Yeah, make sure my tree is nice and straight. Because you know how I like straight trunk trees. You can see how the soil level went down when I worked it into the roots there. So before I water the tree, just to kind of settle the soil in, I will show you the position in the pot and the height of the tree. So we're just starting to see some of those buttress root base, or those buttress roots above the soil line now. And as they develop, I'll be able to continually raise it slightly in the pot each year, or each time I repot it, which probably won't be each year. Just a little more soil at the back here. Now this wet soil sticks to your fingers too. It's not ideal. Okay, that's looking good. So let's have a look at the tree before I water it. Here is a look at the tree in the pot now. So I think all is looking good. I like the front. Here's the side, the back, the left side, and back to the front. And you can't really see the branch structure for these leaves, but it's developing quite well. So the next step, I think, is to water the tree. I'm quite happy with the planting position in the pot and the height. So I'll give the tree a water. So here I go. It's running out the drainage holes, and you can see the water coming out the bottom is a bit cloudy. Just getting all the dust away from the soil. I think that's good. Here is a look at the tree now from above, from below. You can see the branches there. Yeah, it's coming along, and I like the root base. It's starting to flare out. I gave it quite a severe root pruning today. Hopefully all will go well. I'll keep it in the greenhouse here. It gets good sunlight, it's humid, I'll keep it misted. And I think all will go well. I hope so anyway. We will see in the future on the next update of the Fiddle Leaf Fig. So this is my try number 2 bonsaiing a Fiddle Leaf Fig, and I hope that's my last try. I hope this survives and does well. It's time now for today's updates, and I'll show you the trees that I'm putting in the fall bonsai shows. I'll show you how they're developing. A lot of them I had defoliated, repotted, so I'll show you the progress of them. Here is a look at my dwarf Schefflera. So I'll be putting this in the Toronto show this year. So I defoliated, I repotted it into a new pot, and the leaves are coming in really nicely. You can see them up here. I've had to do a little bit of leaf pruning. Some of the leaves are still quite tiny, and some of them are getting quite large. So when they get large like this, I prune them away in favor of some of the smaller ones that are growing in behind it. So my goal at the show is to have all the leaves about the same size if possible, and that should Should look quite nice. You can see the leaves are quite yellow still because they're brand new. So I'm hoping they darken up a bit before the show. So I'm continuing to fertilize the tree as I water it. And yeah, all is looking good. I did a little bit of cleanup work on the trunk. There was some algae stains, so I got out the toothbrush and the soap and water and just cleaned the trunks, trying to get them as bright as possible. And looks quite nice with them cleaned up. I still have a little bit of cleanup to go on it. The moss at the front, it's getting a little thick, so I'm going to have to prune away parts of it. And not prune it away, but just prune it back so it's not quite so high. So I'll have to do that fairly soon. Yeah, so it looks very natural for the show. Yeah, so that is the banyan style dwarf schefflera. I've got a little photographer in there that I'm not going to put in at the show, but taking pictures of the roots there. Yeah, but yeah, so that's the tree. It's looking good, I think. Beside my dwarf schefflera is my Portulacaria afra forest, my Kubu Island planting, and it's looking good. The landscape is greening up quite nicely. The moss is kind of spreading a bit naturally, and yeah, it's looking quite good. The trees, I've had to do all kinds of pruning on them. They just keep growing with tons of vigor, and I snip off the ends, keeping them compact. So that will be ongoing until the Toronto show. I will have to kind of brighten up my white sand, kind of make a more distinct shoreline, the difference between the playground sand and the white industrial sand, just to make it look good. But all is looking good. I think it's going to look quite nice at the show. I thought of something, and this pot is big. It's a new pot, and you can see the size of the pot. It's quite big. And I thought, oh no, do I have a stand that will fit under this pot? So I have those two big stands that Matt made. So I brought it out and tried it, and yes, they fit. So the stand is just a bit longer than the pot and a bit wider, so it's kind of a perfect stand. Now the stand, I didn't like the color of the stand with the pot in the forest, so I may have to stain the stand before I put it in the show. So that will be coming up on maybe on Succulent Sunday, where I do some more pre-show prep on this Kubu Island planting. But yeah, I think it's looking quite nice. It sure reminds me of Kubu Island. I like that. You can see there's some algae on the trunk that I've got to clean up there too. Yeah, so there'll be some more pre-show prep coming to this forest. Over here is my hibiscus. And as pre-show prep, I defoliated the tree, pruned it, added new moss and sand around the base, and that's all looking good. There are also on this tree some leaves that are larger than others. So again, the larger ones I'll prune away. So again, when it's at showtime, all the leaves are as close to being the same size as possible. So yeah, that'll probably go in the KW show, this one. Another tree for the KW show is my Australian umbrella tree. So I also defoliated this one, and you can see the leaves are coming in now. And there's some growing tips that haven't got new leaves in yet, but they're coming. So I've still got some time before the show. And it's looking pretty good. The moss is looking good. It's got an interesting trunk on it. And it'll have a canopy up top too. Over here is my other dwarf schefflera, my dragon style or snake-like style. And I pruned this up, defoliated it, and it's coming in quite nicely. I've got a little toy snake underneath it there, which kind of matches the branch quite nicely. I may put this in the KW show. It's a possibility. I could moss it up, and I think it would look quite nice. Outside here, I have my Teprom temple. So this will need a lot of work to get it show ready. This needs to plant moss all over the temple to make it look green, make it look nice. There's a lot of crumbling action happening on the temple, So I'll have to get some, I think, crazy glue and kind of glue it all together so it doesn't fall apart anymore. So there's a lot of work to go on it, repair work. I wouldn't feel safe putting it in the car right now. It might just all kind of, well, a lot of it might crumble away. So yeah, there's a lot of work going on, or a lot of work to come to this. I may build another one. I don't know. We'll see how the repair work goes on this. If I get it done before a show, it'll go in the Toronto show. I think I'll need that amount of time. There's at least, I think there's just over 20 days before the show. So I've got lots of time to fix it all up and get it mossed up, and I've got to do some pruning on the trees. Yeah, so that's a possibility for the Toronto show also. My African style Bert Davii ficus here is looking quite good. I was hoping to get more height on this branch this year, but I don't know, they were just reluctant to grow. Maybe it needs a deeper pot. This is kind of the show pot, and it's a nice pot, but it's maybe a little shallow for the tree. I don't know. It's covered in fruit right now, which is really cool. These little tiny figs all over it. Yeah. So yeah, that might go in a show. I'll see. I've got Ficus Fancy here. That went in the Toronto Spring Show. So I think this year I'll put it in the KW Bonsai Fall Show. Yeah, it's still looking good. This is the moss from spring still, and it looks good. It just may need a little pruning. You can see my firethorn berries there in the background. They're very colorful. This was also in the Toronto Spring Show. And I'm going to do some hard pruning on this. It's getting too tall. I want to encourage these lower branches to grow and thicken, so I'll be, yeah, doing some pretty big cuts on the top of this Vietnam style Ficus microcarpa in the future. Out back here I have my Canadian style mixed forest larch and black spruce. It's looking good. I think you can see the one larch is changing color already. Yeah, it's looking good. I think this will go in the probably the KW show. And behind that I have my larch forest here. It's also looking quite nice. So these leaves falling down in it. Yeah, so I'll have to see closer to the Toronto show if I put it in the Toronto show or not. I may wait. As I said, you know, these trees on the end, the new ones, aren't quite as developed, and yeah, they look okay. I may put it in. It needs a lot of landscape work too. Yeah, it's a possibility. It's also possible I could put my Brazilian rain tree in the KW show. I do have a nice pot for it, a ceramic pot. It's in a plastic pot at the moment. But that's a possibility. I can only fit so many trees into the car. So yeah, maybe I'll get it ready for the show, and if I can fit it in, it'll go in the show. It still needs a lot of development, this tree, but yeah, a lot of people like the Brazilian rain trees. I don't think I'll have any spectacular fall colors to show. Like even my trident maple here, it's got some fall colors on it, but this year I'm not getting good fall colors. You can see they're just kind of turning some color and then shriveling up and falling off. I'm not getting spectacular vibrant colors this year. Yeah, it was I don't know, one of those years for fall colors where things just, even the trees on the streets and that, they're just not as spectacular as previous years. It sure is a beautiful day here on Ficus Friday. So I'm hoping this tree recovers without any problems. I didn't defoliate it. I've got leaves on top, quite a severe root pruning, but I think there's still enough roots and strength in the tree that it'll recover quite quickly. So I'm hoping next time you see this tree, it's just growing with tons of vigor. And I won't leave it 5 years till I repot it next time. Maybe more like every 2 or 3 years, I think would be perfect. So that's all for this Ficus Friday. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.